Hey, hello everybody, welcome. Yes, it is Thursday, 9 p.m. here in the UK, which means it is UK Cowboys TV time. Season 2 episode 108. So we have, again, double Scottish this week. So it's an Iron and Brew show. Yeah. We've got Paul and the freshman of the team, because we're in draft season, so we use draft analogy. We've got Mr. Lawn with us. And as we have advertised, we have the legend and very close friend of UK Cowboys, a man who has forgotten more things about the Dallas Cowboys than we will ever know. We got Mr. Shannon Gross from Hanging with the Boys. How you doing, brother?
Hey, let's go. Only took me 3 tries to get on here. Sorry about all the scheduling conflicts, fellas. But hey, it's a pleasure to be on here. So for the next hour, we can all try to figure out what the other one's saying. So I'm looking forward to it. It's always an adventure.
You should know by now that is just literally a fact. You should know that. Especially how long you've known me now, Shannon. You've known me for what, 6 years now?
Yeah. Hey, as long as we're not drinking Buckfast or Fireball, I think we'll be all right.
So we'll stick with the vodka and tequila tonight then, Shannon.
Okay, sounds good. Let's do it.
But yeah, as you say, we have tried to get you on the last few weeks, but everything from snowstorms to medical things and scheduling things and all sorts going on, but finally got you, so we may as well though get things going. Everything all right with you over there and staying safe, healthy, and the family doing good?
Things are good, man. We had we're not used to the winter weather here. And we had, I don't know if you guys heard, we had some pretty brutal snowstorms. A lot of people busted pipes and, there's still people without power, still people without water. So, but we're coming out of it. Texas was hit really hard. I was fortunate and we didn't really lose power at all, but a lot of people were displaced and some people still are. So, and we're not talking about like out in the country in Dallas. We're talking about the middle of like uptown, downtown. There's still people that don't have power. So it's been pretty wild. But we're trying to get back to normal. We're trying to, all the COVID restrictions are loosening up over here a little bit, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Depends on your point of view. So, but vaccines are going well over here, and hopefully, if you listen to Mr. Jones in the press conference last week with Dak, we're going back to Oxnard for training camp, and we're going to have a full stadium this year. So we're pumped, man. We're hoping things will be back to normal or close to normal, after last year. So we're excited, man. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, well, just to go off what you're saying with, full stadiums, Texas Rangers came out only last week and said, we're having a full stadium. That's it. We're going for it. Yeah. So if they're doing it, I think by September time, AT&T should have a full plethora of a crowd there.
Yeah. It actually pains me right now because I should be in Texas right now.
Yes, it was. It was March, wasn't it?
Yeah. My flight would have been last Friday there. So, but hey, it is what it is. But hopefully, when season starts, that's when I can actually finally come over. Catch up with you, Shannon, get a couple of beers, and get to see some Cowboys football. That's what it's all about.
Let's go.
Yeah. Just don't be drunk if you see any royalty again, though.
No promises. No promises. What fun would that be?
But as we got you on tonight, we'll get to the news and updates and we'll move on to the show. Yes, we slightly changed things up. It was going to be a ranking show, but a lot has happened in the Dallas Cowboys world. So since we've got, talking of royalty, who are you? Dallas Cowboys royalty. We thought we'd get your opinions on what's cropped up, and there will be a few people asking you some questions along the way. But what I thought we kick things off with is just a couple of news and updates, and really without getting into the most obvious, which is all the changes that have happened on the roster already. The big news really we'll just dig into at this point is the NFL literally just before we went live signed off on a new TV deal that's through until 2033. So that's done. really the only big thing that's come out of it that's slightly different is Amazon now own the rights to Thursday Night Football, which is something new. So
to be fair, I'm not actually quite surprised about that because they've actually owned the rights of doing the whole All or Nothing TV series. They've got access to NFL films, productions and stuff like that. So, I mean, to me, it's a great move. It means it's more open access towards the world as well because it's an open platform. So it's not like you're just restricted. It's like you're not restricted to, or you need to get a VPN to access American channels and stuff like that. It's multiple access. So I think it's a great move.
It's good. They've been doing it for the last couple of years, and particularly in the UK, they've actually got a couple of UK commentators, so that you don't have to necessarily listen to whoever's doing the broadcast. You can listen to the UK commentators, and they can, for the newbies to the sport, they can actually be educated by the UK commentators rather than listening to guys that have been broadcasting for 20, 25 years or whatever.
Well, I mean, hopefully with any luck, we get some more broadcasts on Nickelodeon.
Where are you
going, man, that was fun. What did you make of that, Shan? I thought that was a lot of fun.
I didn't watch it. I saw the replays and all the clips and everything. And I the one thing that the NFL is trying to do is get the younger fans involved, right? That's your next generation of super fan. That's your next generation of season ticket holders. That's your next generation of merchandise buyers. And there's so many competing avenues out there. You got, you're competing with social media. You're competing with, look at what's happened to boxing. You have YouTube stars boxing professional boxing because that's entertainment now. That's what this younger demographic and this younger audience, that's what they relate to, are these YouTube stars and these TikTok stars and all this. So, the NFL is trying to, they're slow. Kids are not watching sports. Kids are not playing sports. They're playing video games. They're watching streamers. They want to be gamers when they grow up, not athletes. So the NFL is trying to tap into that keep interest in that younger demographic. So I think anything that they can do, man, that interests kids or that younger demographic that keeps them engaged with football, and I think it's great. So I mean, for adults, it's kind of like, this is corny. What are you doing? But I mean, for a kid, more power to them. I think it's good.
Yeah, it's kind of what you mentioned, like just like a perspective. It's just crazy to think that this YouTuber like Jake Paul is actually going to earn more money than Canelo Alvarez in this next fight. That's insane. That's insane. And
I mean, all you got to do is look at YouTube. There's an 8-year-old kid who's now a multimillionaire just from playing with toys on YouTube.
And he's in Walmart now. I went to Walmart the other day, and I'm like, what's going on? And you said Paul Mayweather just came out yesterday or 2 days ago, said he's going to make probably YouTuber. He goes and only has to go box 12 rounds with a pro boxer and earn that. The world's changing, man. The world's changing.
Yeah. We're talking to the expert on social media since you're the main man over in Cowboys media on all of that. But yeah, I mean, that's the big news. And just to put things in perspective, I don't know if you're aware of this, Shannon, in the US last year in 2020, 77 of the top 100 most viewed programs in the United States were NFL games. And that's how big of a market it is.
That does not surprise me one bit.
Yeah. And the other one was more people watched the draft than the NBA playoffs in total.
Oh, wow. I'll tell you what, the NFL has done a great job of – the NBA is a season-long soap opera. They have done a great job with making drama off the court, a year-long story. And if you think about it, the NFL is starting to become a 365-day-a-year league. Yeah. And they did that with the draft. And when if you go back and you look at what the draft used to be, so what they turned the draft into an event, and not only an event, but it's It's now
it's the process as well. It's the whole process, like getting to know these all these players from college, their background story, their attributes, what they deliver to the table, where do they see fit for these particular teams within the draft, and it makes you really question. And this is the thing we were talking about: is like who's going to trade up, who's going to trade down, and it's the whole. It's just so much. They look. It's literally firing out a spider web, and they can go in so many directions.
Right? Yeah, they've done a good job marketing that. So I mean,
definitely.
That doesn't surprise me either, because and they've done that relatively quickly, because the draft used to just be kind of a, I'll watch this if nothing else is on, kind of like the combine. Well, now they're turning the combine into.
I was just about to say that.
I think we've got Deion Sanders to help regards to that, because it was him who brought all the hype towards to the draft.
But funnily enough, I can remember I started watching, streams, if you like, that were on YouTube here in the UK, and that was about 10 years ago, and it was the combine. And I can remember sitting there and thinking, won't be long. Some network is going to go, yep, we can make some good money on this, and now look at it.
Yep,
that's where it's at. So that is the update for this week. Although there is a lot that's gone on, that is the content of the show that we'll get into. But I thought I'd ask you, Shannon, because one of the things that is frustrating to Cowboys Nation is the news at the moment is wild across the NFL. In Cowboys Nation, though, it's more the opposite. People are more frustrated because the news on the Dallas Cowboys free agency moves are very quiet. Do you think that's perhaps a strategy that when they took and they got this 80 million extra in cap space, they had a plan to do with that money, and that's what they're doing at the moment?
Well, if you look at the history of what they've done with free agency over the last several years, they don't do anything. They don't sign big name guys. They've tried to. I think what they've tried to do is they try to draft well. They try to hold on to their own guys, but then when those guys become free agents and it requires spending money, they let them go. A la Anthony Hitchens, a la Byron Jones, a la they don't spend money. The last time I remember them spending a lot of money on a player in free agency was Brandon Carr, right?
Yeah.
You got Robert Quinn on a deal, and then 1-year deal. Had a hell of a year.
Yeah.
And then the market was going to require them to pay money, let him go. So it's like they bring guys in if they can get them on a bargain. And let's be honest, it hasn't really worked out that well for them. You look at the defense now, it's not really working. The free agent market's not really working. I think they've been drafting really well. I think they've added pieces, but we talked on our show today. I am okay with them going and spending a lot of money and go get you a playmaker, whether it's in the secondary or the defensive line. Go sign a playmaker. You have pieces. You have a bunch of guys. We saw what a bunch of guys did. You have maybe one playmaker on your defense, and I would say that's DeMarcus Lawrence. That's really and he's not really a game changer. He's a great player.
Yes.
He's not an Aaron Donald. He's not one of those type of guys that can dominate a game. Go get you a guy. Go Patrick Peterson. I would have loved to have seen him come here for $10 million.
Yeah.
Just let's see what we can do in free agency. And I get it. Cowboy fans are frustrated because they haven't spent that money. Now look, the guys that are actually one floor above me and about 50 feet that way,
they
pay a lot more money than I do. And they get paid a lot of money to do a job that figures all this stuff out. So I know they know what they're doing, and I know there's cap numbers that I can't comprehend and all that stuff. And I would, you just think that they have a method to their madness. I would just like to know what that method is, because I don't really understand it, to be honest with you. So.
I'm with you there, yeah. But they have, as you say, every year, and ironically, with our head coach Mike McCarthy, if you go back as well and you look at Green Bay when he was in charge, that was very much Green Bay's philosophy, was not to spend big in free agency. So it's something that's carried on with them. So it's very much an echo, if you like. But yeah, like you say, it's something that they do every year regardless.
I think in essence, whenever you bring in one of these high-priced guys, they're coming in thinking, well, you paid me all this money. you're not really going to be teaching me anything new, whether the system's different or not. If you're coming in as the guy, right? And somebody starts trying to coach you up and doing it their way. You're going to say, look, you're paying me 15 million, whatever, a year to do this. I'll just carry on doing what's got me here in the first place. I think there's an essence that, a lot of players grow up knowing what the star is on the helmet and everything like that. For a lot of people, whether they get a Super Bowl or not, wearing the star is practically the pinnacle of their career. It's got the marketing cachet, everything like that. So, a lot of people say, right, I've made it, and you've got that act, they're not hungry anymore.
Yeah, I can see where you're going there. But I mean, let's move on to what the Cowboys, though, so far have done. Now, a lot of people have made a little complaint about this, but I think that this is actually quite a clever move. We'll look at, first of all, offensive tackle Ty Neshke. I don't know what the deal is like. Maybe you've got some more details on what the details of the contract's like, Shan. But I mean, he's from Arlington, so they must have got a hometown discount. Do you know if that has happened? Have you got any details that come out from his contract yet? Has that been the case?
I don't have any detail, honestly,
on it yet.
A few of the guys that they've signed, I had to go look up and see who they were. So that
the only thing I know about Ty is I know he's predominantly more of he's really used as a swing tackle.
He is a swing tackle, yeah.
So
he has been throughout his career.
Was that
base salary is $1.25 million, and he's got a $500,000 signing bonus.
Yeah. One thing I will tell you about my theory on offensive linemen is the same as cornerbacks. You can't have too many, and you can't.
Yes, exactly.
Especially in off seasons and going into training camp, like you want competition there, and you want depth, because especially with this offensive line, as banged up as they've been the last several years, you don't know how much you can depend on Tyron Smith to make it through a season. And now you got Lyell's having issues. You had Zach Martin for the first time in his career had issues. So, hey, if they want to go spend a few $1 million here and there on different offensive linemen, I am 100% on board with that. And not to mention, you just paid a little bit amount of money for the guy that's going to be behind those offensive linemen. So you probably need to protect that investment a little bit. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and like at the end of the day, I mean, for starters, he came from arena football. 81 games in 2020. He actually played 15 of them. Only 54 snaps, mind, but throughout his career, 1,708 snaps and only 17 penalties that he's caused in that time. But the big one for me is he's 35 years of age, so I don't think that this is going to be one of those sort of, a year where we're going to have him and then that lets him explode into the NFL for a further contract. I think this is more, as a comment just said, I think this is more of a stepping stone where you've got him as a swing tackle then for you guys like Terrence Steele and Brandon Knight then to learn a bit more, because let's be fair, they had up and down seasons. I think is a polite way.
And the more polite way as well, they were pretty much thrown into the lion's den, pretty much. Like
they were, yeah.
Like they just came in and we expect them to be world beaters, but what do you expect the rookies that just being thrown up against like amazing defensive linemen throughout the NFL, like Myles Garrett, for example, getting mauled during that Cleveland game, for example. You know what I mean? So. I know
in the first game as well.
Yeah. Oh, Aaron Donald, yeah.
Yeah. Because I think, I don't know what you think, Shannon, but for Steele and Knight, I think there is something there. Do you think they just need a bit of development?
Yeah, and I think everybody was on the get rid of what are you doing with Steele train for most of the year. And then towards the end of the year, the coaches, the credit to the coaches, they saw something that they stuck with him. And I think it started paying off towards the end of the year. I do the show with Nate. Nate likes the guy.
Yeah.
So Nate was hard on him at the beginning of the year. And then as the year started progressing, Nate got on the Steele train and was like, hey, let's give this guy a shot. So I think I think you definitely have something there. With Knight, I think you need to see a little bit more. I think you've got some young guys, beyond. I think you might have something there. McGovern, not sure there. We got to see more there, but I think and here's the deal: with an offensive line, you have. We had Travis Frederick, we had Zach Martin, we had Tyron Smith. You're lucky to have one of the guys. And you can have an offensive line with one superstar and a bunch of guys. You can have an offensive line if you have one or two. So I feel okay with the offensive line. Still want to see depth, want to see these guys develop, but I think you have a good, especially with get those guys in the weight room, get some size on them. They got a year of their belt. They've got a hell of an offensive line coach right now. I'm okay with where the offensive line is.
So see, here's
because I don't know about you. Go on, Paul.
I was going to say. So, say for example, I know we're going to be talking about what's scheduled on the show now, but I need to ask you this question. When it comes to the draft, see if a Penny Sue or Slater is available at 10, would you take him ahead of a cornerback?
The only position I would not take, I think there's three. I think wide receiver, I think quarterback, and I think running back would be the only three positions that I would not take in the first round. If you got one of those stud offensive linemen, from what we're hearing, those are, possibly generational linemen. If they're at 10, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with linebacker. I'm okay with line. I'm okay with cornerback. Tight end, I might not be okay with too. Maybe throw that one in there.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for confirming that, Shannon. I am so against that. Tight end. I'm so against that.
Jarwin, I like what you got with Schultz. I think both of them are way above average tight ends. I know that the tight end that's in the draft that some people were projecting to fall to us is a once in a lifetime guy. I don't know now with what I would put. I'm okay with taking a lineman, an offensive lineman. Yes.
Just to say as well, Shannon, you are cutting out a little bit. Just to give you a wee heads up. I don't know if it's the connection or something. Yeah, just kind of keeps cutting out a little bit. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But it may as well ask you the question because it is an offensive lineman and you mentioned him. What have you had a take off Nate Newton at all yet on Ty Neshke on that signing at all?
Say it again. Sorry.
I said, has Nate Newton, has he given you his take on the Ty Neshke signing at all yet?
No. Today we went down a different rabbit hole today, so we didn't even get to talk about it. Today, if you tuned into the show today, he went off on his own tangent, and I haven't. Usually I would hear from him by now after the show, but I haven't heard from him. So if I do hear from him, I will get his take on that, so I can let you guys know next time.
I'd definitely be very interested what Nate has to say about that, because obviously him being an offensive lineman and that, and yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But the next one that was a move, because we can quickly get through this one, is 40-year-old and 40-year-old Luis Philippe. Very sad to see this guy go. Been with the Cowboys for the last 70 million years. Finally cut from the Cowboys. In replacement, they've taken the Rams long snapper, Jacob McQuaid. I don't know what you make of this, Shannon. To me, it just screams Fassel getting involved, bringing a guy back he knows and has worked with Zerline as well. Believe it or not, the guy's actually made 2 Pro Bowls.
Right. I'm with you. I don't understand that one other than it just being Fassel wanting to work with his guys. And look, I love Fassel. I think he's a genius. At one time, I think he had all 3 of his special teams guys in the Pro Bowl. I think he had the long snapper, the kicker, and the punter. So I can't question that move. I can see he go because he's been around for so long. I think he was two away from breaking Witten's record of all-time starts as a Cowboy. So, I mean, I hate to see him go. He never had a bad snap. Bad snap he had. Bad snap was the game against Washington where he double pumped the ball, which is what he's done.
Yeah, let's be honest. That was a bullshit call. To be fair.
Yeah. But I mean, I hate to see. I can't argue it because Fossil, if he wants his own guy in here, the guy's been to 2 Pro Bowls. I can't really argue that.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much point in getting too in depth with it. I mean, it's a long snapper. We've had one go. He's 40 years old. They brought a guy in from the Rams. I think that's about all you can really say about it when it comes to long snapper.
Again, he's made a career out of being lucky because, if we weren't staying in California that year that we were playing the 49ers one week, the Raiders the second week, and John Kondo, who was our long snapper at that point in time, he messed up in the 49ers game. Bill Parcells wasn't happy with him, had a tryout. This guy happened to be sitting in a university just down the road, brought in, and, lo and behold, 17 years later almost.
Yeah. But moving on to the other signings, they have him as defensive lineman. He's pretty much a defensive end. Carlos Watkins from the Texans Houston's, 27 years of age, taken in the 4th round of the 2017 pick, is as well a college football champion. He was with Clemson when they won their championship.
Did you just say the Texans Houston's?
He did.
I did, yeah, I did.
Fucking hell.
Don't worry, it happens. It's because of how I've written it. I don't know. First of all, before I go round the house, I may as well get Shannon's take straight away on this one. I've looked into it. I've looked at his highlight video, but they're highlights, so they always look good. But what do you make so far on that signing, Shan?
A lot about the guy. I know that he's progressively started, I think, more games every year that he's been in the league. So I think he started 15 or 16 last year. So, like defensive lineman, I think kind of the same holds true. There's offensive linemen and corners. Like, let's load them up. Let's go into camp. Yeah. Let the best man win. I feel good. I still would like to see really good technique in there. I love what Randy Gregory's potential this year. DeMarcus Lawrence really knows Tyrone Crawford going to, was he much of a help last year? He didn't look like his old self last year. So, let's load it up and see what we got, and let's let him compete at training camp. I don't know a whole lot about the guy other than probably what you guys have seen, highlight films and looking at stats.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, like the stats, if it helps anybody, 1,200 snaps, 33 quarterback pressures, 40 solo defensive stops, 4 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries. It is what you want to make of that. The only thing I will say that I have noticed about him is he does seem to be more of a situational pass rusher. And when he was with Houston, get it right this time, when he was with Houston, he was more of a situational pass rusher is what he just looked like. I don't know. You're a defensive guy, Paul. I don't know what you make of it.
Get more bodies in defensive line. I'm more unhappy. Honestly, man. What was the stats again, Mike? Can you just read it back out again?
This is career snaps. I can go back and check his season.
Was that for his whole career you were talking about there?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, 1,200 snaps, 33 quarterback pressures, 40 solo stops, 4 sacks, 2 fumbles.
And that how many years?
And he's got a handful. I think 5 or 6 pass deflections.
So how many years has he been? How many years has he been in the NFL?
4 years. 2017.
So you're averaging 1 sack a season. To be fair, we've got some defensive linemen in our team right now that've not even got 1 yet. So, the way I see it though is if you've got the right coach to kind of get the right type of player in the right format, if it's a 4-front, 3-front, whatever we're going to be going forward, what Dan Quinn has in mind going forward, you can basically turn any player who's had a really bad season and turn them into the next best thing and earn that extra big contract. To take Alden Smith, for example, like that early part of his first part of that season, no one gave him a chance. He looked like, even though like in his earlier days, like when he was at Auckland and stuff like that, like this was after San Francisco, obviously, he just wasn't the same player he used to, but then he came back and first 5 games he looked great for us. So I bet, and that's a brief example, but there's other better examples out there. But yeah, but either that, I'm happy. Like I just want to get more bodies in, and I'm just more worried that the fact that there's a lot of players that are going to be leaving due to like a cap and stuff like that, and we need to replace these guys in with someone. So, but I know we will. There'll be a lot of undrafted guys coming in, rookies and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
I think you've got to think as well, he's coming from the Houston Texans, who were a 3-4 front. So he was playing a 5 technique defensive end.
Yep.
His job was mostly to hold the blockers up so that the linebackers could float to the ball. Right? He's moving to a 4-3, which is what they're talking about. He was situationally kicked inside whenever they went to a 4-man line in pass rush last year. I think that's
so. Essentially, maybe getting moved about the way Tyron Crawford was getting moved about. Essentially,
I think
moving
he's going to be
from a
one of
5
these
front to a
tweeners.
3 front.
Yeah, he's going to be one of these tweener guys that, one year he's lining up as a defensive tackle and moved to end and what have you. So.
Yeah. The only other guy then that has been signed off free agency so far then is literally just before we went live. So all I can tell you is I've quickly glanced at his stats, but Brent Urban has been taken on from the Bears, was taken as an unrestricted free agent, was in the Canadian Football League, over to the Ravens, finished with the Bears, now the Cowboys. All I can say is, in terms stat-wise, he seems to have better stats than Carlos Watkins, but I have literally no clue about this guy. I don't know. What about you, Shannon? Anything to add on that one?
Nothing. I got a text message like right before we went on the air that he had signed, and I haven't had a chance to look at him or look anything up. So I got nothing for you on that one.
So, I mean, we'll wrap that one up on the recent signings. The only thing I will say is I'm hoping that those signings, I don't know what you make, Shannon, just start some juices flowing and kind of get them involved in the market. I don't know what you think, but yeah, I'm hoping that this is the beginning of something, the momentum, if you like.
I wouldn't get too excited. Like I mean, just the history. They don't do it. They don't do anything. They used to. Until 4 or 5 years ago, and now they save their money. And it's not exciting. It's not flashy. It's not what fans want. But you got Dak, right?
Yes.
We finally got Dak. By the way, how did you guys feel about that? Were you the money?
I am so happy about it, Shannon. Honestly, I am so happy about it.
Yeah.
Like. I'm just glad the stress is over about it. More than that, you've known me for, how I feel about that. I think Dak's always been our guy, and just the fact that we've now got him to a longer term contract. Now he can just purely focus on football, not having to worry about the noise in the background, about the contracts and the constant media attention about regards to that contract. He can now just go there, focus, play football, train with Zeke, train with Lamb. Get Gallup and Cooper and really go forward in terms of getting this offense the way he wants it, because he is pretty much the face of the franchise now.
Yeah. And it's like, it's one of those things. I bet it's even more so, in Frisco with you guys, but here it was just like, just like the stress, the weight on the shoulders, because like every week we're talking about it and it's going on, and all of a sudden it's just like you can exhale, and I'm sure it was like that at the start.
And just to add on top of that, and Austin just left the comment in there, and we need to give credit to Steve and Jerry as well, even though they said they may have overpaid in a wee cheeky comment during the press conference and that, but when you really break it down, and Lauren, you can verify that we're actually, like, the way how things are ended up is like we are, like, the salary cap is not taking as much of a biggest hit that we had expected.
Yeah. the way it's been done.
And there's even flexibility for next year to convert some of that salary, spread it out over the remainder of the contract. These voidable years make it a lot cheaper than it probably would have been if Dak had stuck to his guns and said 4 years and don't want void years and all this sort of stuff. From my point of view, I mean, I listen to all of the Cowboys podcasts. I listen to a few other podcasts as well, NFL based, everything. Any time you were talking about Dallas and what they were going to be doing in the draft, what they were going to be doing free agency, it was all, well, Dak, you got to get Dak signed first, or you got to decide what you're doing with Dak. You know, now that Dak's gone, he's like the first domino that you knock over to start off a chain reaction. Hopefully, you know, the results are good. You know, he comes back from his injury. By all the hype videos that are coming out, he looks like he's ready to go and will be ready to go come training camp.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He was on, you know, year by year, he has got stronger and stronger and
absolutely
become the leader of that team.
Yeah. And I think one thing that might be encouraging, I know we're talking about free agency and the Cowboys not doing anything. One thing that may be encouraging is there were two dominoes, like you said, there were two things that had to fall for them to figure out their money. Dak's contract and the TV deal. And you just said the TV deal got done, so now they know what they're working with. And if you listen to Jerry in the press conference last week, he said one of the factors was being optimistic about the future and knowing that we're getting back to football, knowing we're going to get back to having full stadiums, knowing that all the things with money, you know, are going to get back to normal, and being confident that the salary cap will get back to a place that, you know, it was and probably higher than it has been before, especially with the TV deal going through now. That makes you think that maybe they'll be more willing to go spend money knowing that they're going to be able to make up for it maybe next year, the year after, because you think the salary cap took a step back this year. Maybe it's going to take a big step forward, and maybe they'll gamble a little bit with that optimism. And maybe they do have to go spend some money on some free agents that they haven't done before, because I think if you think about it, with the signing of Dak, you've got him for 4 years. And if you think about it, you really have him for probably 2 before you have to start thinking about the next contract, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to win now. You've got a 2 to 3 year window where you've got to go for it, right?
Yeah.
Because you've spent your money, you got your guy. Now it's time to, okay, let's go do this. So I think, you know, as a fan, you kind of want to see him go make a move to get a guy that's not just a guy. You want to see him go, let's go get a stud on defense. Let's have a hell of a draft on defense. And then next year you're ready. You've got these guys developed for a year. You got your quarterback. You got your offensive line set. You're letting some guys go on defense. Cheeto's gone. You know, you re-signed Jordan. You got some players. Now let's go get some guys. Let's go get some badasses.
That's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying all along. It's like we just need that dog, like that animal in the defense. And don't get me wrong,
Diggs might be that guy.
I think he will be. I think he will be given in time, and I will say this as well. I think give it time. I think Neville Gallimore could be that guy as well.
Yeah,
give it time.
Yeah. But you dipped into it there about the guys that have gone. Of all these guys, and I've got my guy who I think is the biggest loss. Cam Irvin. We talked about LP, Joe Thomas, Chidobe Awuzie, Andy Dalton. Chris Jones, the Punisher, he's gone. Blake Bell, going back to Kansas. Of all those guys, Shannon, who's the biggest loss that hasn't come back? I mean, I've got my guy already. I think is the biggest one there.
Probably, to me, probably Cheeto, just because you can't have enough corners. You know, and he was good. He wasn't great. He wasn't elite, but he was good. I mean, he got burnt. He had injury issues. But I mean, every corner in this league gets burnt, you know, and you didn't hear a whole lot about him, and which is good for a cornerback, right? He wasn't Byron Jones, but you don't need Byron Jones. You can have a winning defense. You can have a middle of the road defense without a Byron Jones or without a, you know, Richard Sherman or without a Patrick Peterson or a Tyrann Mathieu. But I think, just from a depth perspective, we talked about on the show today, we love Jordan Lewis as a slot corner. Like when he gets more playing time, for some reason, once he gets out of that, 30 snap range, he makes mistakes, and he even said that after games, like I tried to do too much, and I don't know if he gets too fancy or too cute or what, but I love him, but I love him as a slot corner. So now what do you do to replace him? Anthony Brown, same thing. Anthony Brown's a hell of a corner, but he's a full-time corner. I don't think he's as good as he is as, a slot corner. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do there. So I think that's the biggest one.
For me, I'm just gonna. I'll let you add into it now, Paul. But I was just gonna say my guy is Joe Thomas, purely because of just the depth there.
I love Joe Thomas.
I think I agree with both of you. Obviously with Cheeto and that, he wasn't the most amazing, but like you said, Shannon, he's kept quiet, and Joe Thomas, we are really let to depth on linebacker as well, because it's like if one of LVE, Jalen, or Sean Lee's out, it's like who else is there to come in and replace him?
Yeah,
but the guy I'm actually kind of and I'm going to support Jamie's comment on this is Andy Dalton, for him to come in, decent backup quarterback. I know he's not the most important player, I wouldn't say most important, but he still kept us alive. Our season could have been a hell of a lot worse if it wasn't for Andy Dalton, to be fair. Oh, Lauren's trying to disappear that we second.
He'll come back though.
Yeah, but,
Paul, would you pay $10 million to keep him though?
Yeah,
that's the thing though. That's the thing though. I think he definitely used Dallas as a springboard more so to kind of elevate his value back up again. And fair play to him. He's now got. At the same time,
he could be the starter there.
well, he is going to be the starter, but here's the crazy thing. This is the crazy rumor I've heard about this whole Chicago Bears thing. Is they offered 3 first-rounders and 2 starting players for Russell Watson, and they turned it down, and that's why they went for Andy Dalton. I'm like, wow. And I don't know what the rumor was. Was it Lauren? You could confirm that, couldn't you? Was it Khalil Mack and Roquan Smith? That was the 2 starters or something like that.
I think it was something like that. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Thanks, Brian. Cheers for that.
That is a lot. That is a lot.
Yeah.
Just for a quarterback, that's insane. If that was me, I'd be like, no problem, I'll take it. but anyway, screw them. It's the Bears and Seahawks. They can jump off a cliff. I don't care. Anyway. But yeah.
But we are in the market now, though, for a punter.
Yes, we are. That's true. I'll be honest. I would get that guy back in. The guy we got from the XFL.
We've still got him. We've still got him on the roster at the moment. So
Neswander. Yeah.
Neswander. Punter.
Yep.
And that's I love Chris Jones. I loved him, but he was declining a little bit every year, and I think Nicewinder proved that hey, he was just as good as Chris Jones at a better value. So I hate to see Chris Jones go because he was a nice guy, and I liked him as a person. But I think from a business decision, you plug a guy in, right? Unless you have just a badass punter that's bombing 60 yarders on a consistent basis.
I know one, but he plays for the wrong team. He plays for Cleveland right now.
Yeah. Scottish.
Well, reason I'm saying that, Shannon, is because he's Scottish. That's why I'm saying it.
Okay. I didn't realize you guys had a guy in the league. Nice.
Yeah.
Jimmy Gillen.
There was the days, and you probably remember this one, Shannon, not too long ago, where special teams, they go find kickers out in car parks over in Texas, and can you kick a ball? Let's try you in. And they literally get people out, and that's who they were. Not nobodies, but
okay, where's
just
my
random
cleats?
people.
Yeah. until I guess Dan Bailey, they did the same thing with kickers, But the crazy thing is they would find kickers, and then they would let them go, and they wound up staying in the league for 15. Nick Folk, Billy Cunningham, all these kickers that they found, they would let them go, but somehow they were good enough to be in the league for 10, 15 years.
And they just found him in some random car park.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Cowboys have been doing that for years. When you talk about Tony Fritz as Brian, Brian's got it as Tony Fridge, but we had the kicking caravan in the 70s and all that, where you were bringing in soccer-style kickers to kick for the Cowboys. It was nouveau for Tom Landry and the guys doing that back in the 70s.
They actually made a movie about it. Mind the Replacements. They got the Welsh kicker.
Yes.
In the movie.
Yes, they are. Risa fans. That's right. Yeah. Some people say I look like him. I don't think I do. I don't look like a skinny raging alcoholic.
Well, you definitely sound like him, that's for sure.
I probably sound like him. I could be even worse if you want me to. I'm trying to keep it back so Shannon understands me. Otherwise, you'll have to try and translate for him. But
yeah, Shannon, if you think you can understand me badly, wait till you hear Mike on a night out. Honestly,
bad
beer, yeah.
Beer does not help.
Just talk too quick. But let's stay with the Cowboys before this becomes the alcohol podcast. We'll talk then about the guys they brought back. You mentioned two of them already, Shan. Special teamers really is what I would say, because a lot of people are complaining about bringing Brown back because of his offensive snap rate, but that's not really what he's about. So you have Brown, you have CJ Godwin as well. Special teamers, I would say, as gunners, these guys, I think, because when you look at 2020 and you look at 2019, special teams was an issue, and then all of a sudden in 2020 it was actually one of the bright sparks of the Cowboys team. So I think bringing them back was a big deal. I quite like that. And the deals they're on are fine as well. But also the other guys that brought back, we've got Cedric Wilson and a human log, Antoine Woods on tender. And then, as you talked about, Jordan Lewis. I thought we'd get your take, mate, while you're here, on Jordan Lewis contract. Some people are not too happy about it, but what do you make of it?
I'm okay with it. Like I said, I think Jordan's a good player. I think he's, Nate wants him to stay in the slot. I wouldn't mind putting him in the mix. Let's see what he can do. Like we sang his praises on our show about he needs more time, and then when he got more time, he didn't make the best of it.
Yeah.
Maybe another year of maturity, maybe another year of development. At some point you are what you are, but I think he's got something, because he winds up being around the ball, and that's something this team hasn't really had a lot of. At least guys that are around the ball that turn their head around at the right time. They have guys that are around the ball.
See, I totally agree, Shannon. I totally agree. Like, the thing with Lewis, I think I kind of may have mentioned this a wee bit earlier. I think it really kind of depends of the type of coach that he's got teaching him what to do, and it just takes that wee split moment. It's like, oh, I know what you mean now. He can actually go out and do what he's supposed to be doing. Like, because and a lot of it is meant down to mental error 9 times out of 10. Like, we know he can make tackles. We've seen it, but if he's missing the tackles, he's making mental judgment errors. So I think it's just like he just might need the right coach, and hopefully with Dan Quinn coming in, hopefully we might actually see that resurgence of Jordan Lewis of basically,
what you need, and hopefully Dan Quinn can do this, is, what we heard last year at the beginning of the year was, we're not going to try to fit scheme to players. We're going to try to fit players to scheme. And what did they do? They tried to do the opposite. We heard that before they played the first game, when the coordinators came in and we were still in the building and we were able to interview those guys. You heard them say, we're going to figure out what guys do well, and we're going to build the scheme around. They didn't do that.
Yep.
I think the defense, part of the reason why they were so bad is because they were thinking too much. They were trying to think about, like, oh God, what does coach want me to do? What am I supposed to do here? What am I like?
Yes.
We need to simplify it to where
Mike Nolan overcomplicated. I totally agree with you.
Did.
Like me and Lauren spoke about this ages ago. I think this was like after week 2 or something like that. Just through comments on Facebook, so to speak. And we were like, it's like it just seems a wee bit OTT. It just seems like the players just aren't they getting set. They weren't like put like going into a 3-point stance. They were just like going to a 2-point
They didn't
stance.
know what to line up, and you didn't have the right guys to get them lined up. And it's like, if they can figure out a way, if Dan Quinn can figure the way out to just let them play fast and not thinking about what's my gap assignment, where am I supposed to be, what am I supposed to be doing. I think that's the magic formula, because I think we got a lot of good players. They just didn't gel with the coaches, with the system, for whatever reason. You just looked out of place all the time. So I think if you can figure that part out, I think you got some guys that can make it work. And you don't have to be a top 5 defense. You just, with this offense, if you could be 14 to 20 defense,
average.
Just don't be the blind. Don't be 32nd.
Honestly, Shannon, like this is a motto I go live by every single day when it comes to my work, in terms of like I do programming and that, but see what comes
to average.
Prick.
We was thinking the same thing, mate.
I'm going to kick you in the balls for that. What I was going to say was like less is more. Like the less you force things, the more production you're going to get out of it. The more like the small amounts, you can get more production out of that small amount. So that's what I'm trying to get at there. Yeah. And
I think the other thing with Jordan Lewis is everybody's harping on that it's a 3-year, $15 million contract. In actual fact, when you look at the breakdown of everything, you can get out of it next year. If he screws the pooch this season, you can get out of it for, if you cut him before the 17th of March, his next year's salary isn't guaranteed. So you've got guaranteed salary this year. You've got the signing bonus split over 3 years. It's effectively, you could have it as a 1-year, $5 million deal. And obviously, you're carrying the remaining 2 years as a dead cap charge next year of $2 million. So you're paying $2.5 million this year. You're paying $2.5 million next year if you cut him before the 17th of March.
Next year.
Now, if he plays brilliantly this year, it's a bargain. You've got him for another 2 years.
Like I said, fingers crossed. I just I think there's been a few times where we've been counting on players to kind of like eat some humble pie last season, because we thought we were expecting more of them, and there would be the odd game they would stand out and they delivered. So I'm just kind of hoping that'll be the same case with Jordan for the next.
Yeah, I just think that the defense was just lacking 2 things. It was lacking speed, because it was a very clunky and slow defense. Like you were saying, Shannon, probably most of that is to deal with the mental processing of what they're trying to do. And I think the other one as well is they were just lacking a bit of dog. And we were talking about this, me and you, Paul, in the season. There was a lot of where you're seeing the defenders, picking the opposition players up off the floor, brushing their shoulders down. It's like, no, leave them in the dirt. Have a bit of an attitude with them.
Yeah, let's not go down that route, because I'll probably end up having a rant about a particular person. So let's not.
Yeah. And they have spoken to him as well, so we're not going to talk about that. Though.
That's bullshit. Right? That's bullshit. We have not been talking about this player. Move on.
They did talk to him. I had it confirmed. Honestly, they did talk, but don't worry about that. But based on really what we've seen so far, Shannon. Before we end up wrapping this up in the next sort of 10 minutes, is for you in the first round, based on everything that you've seen, I'm going against the grain about what you said. I don't see them taking offensive tackle like Slater. Maybe if Sewell drops to him, but I can't see Darius or Slater. I think it's going to be the defense or a trade down. What it really is your options at the moment, based on what they've done so far.
What are my options? What would I do?
What would you do? Yeah. Not what you think the Cowboys would do. What would you do?
I would be tempted to trade down, because I would be tempted to, depending on what the deal is, I think there might be somebody that needs a quarterback that might fall, because now there's starting to be talk where, there's maybe 6 quarterbacks that are worthy this draft. Someone might need a quarterback. They might overpay for 10. And I would be real, because I think there's a few guys that are of equal value that are going to be there at 10. So if you could drop down to 14 or 13 or maybe even 15 and still get one of those guys that you have at equal value and pick up a second rounder or a third and a fourth, something that fits. I mean, you've got 10 picks this draft.
Yeah.
Go the Patriot way and just draft the crap out of a bunch of guys and just let them compete and see what you got,
Yeah.
So I would be really tempted to trade back unless there's just a player there that you're just like, we can't believe this guy fell here. We've got to take him. I would be tempted to do that.
Yeah. Go on, Paul. Go on.
I completely agree. Like, I originally said, like, I feel as though, like, looking how the draft board's kind of looking right now, and we're desperately needing strengthening in most parts of our defense, and that's somewhere I think where we need to really put our attention on. So I think definitely, like, trading back down and looking how the board is, there's a lot more teams that are desperate for wide receiver right now, especially like in the teams that are just behind us. They are more likely to throw some silly trades to try and get up ahead, maybe one or two places, just to kind of, but the fact is, like, with the trade down, we'll be getting more than just swapping picks. We'll be getting more picks as well, so it means we get more depth, more players in, and I'm more than happy with that. So
if I was Gary,
the Cowboys,
I would let it be known now. Hey, the 10th pick is up for grabs. If you got the right deal, let's talk. And and someone might overpay. That's the only way I would do it, is if you get value out of that. So that's
what you're looking for, is an overpay. Yeah. But would you do that particular deal that Joe just sent in, saying, would you trade the 10th pick for Stephen Gilmore from the Patriots? For me, I think no, purely on the basis of age. I think he's 32 years of age now. Would you do that though, Shannon? Would you pull the trigger on that one?
Probably. No, I don't. If he was a guy that was going to help me win now, I don't know if he's that guy I don't know if he puts you over the top with what you have right now. If he put you over the top, I would say absolutely. But plus the money, you got to figure out what's the money involved. So you can get a guy on a rookie contract that you can develop, that saves you all that money, or do you take a guy that you take that burden of that contract or whatever that is, and then you're strapped for next year, or spending for this year? So I'd probably pass on that.
Yeah, it seems to be like the cap's more the issue nowadays when it comes to bringing players in. It's more so now, Well,
if you think about it, you mentioned the Russell Wilson trade earlier.
Yeah.
What people don't realize is the money that comes with that, and what the money that hits Seattle is dead money. That's why Seattle wants so much for him, is because the dead money, it's going to strap them for years if they would let him go. So it's better just to keep him there, even if he's disgruntled, because you're paying for him anyway.
So true.
If you think about baseball, the Texas Rangers did that for years, where they would sign guys to these mass deals, they would get rid of them, and then they paid for them for the next 10 years. A-Rod, I can't remember the guy, the guy they had that strapped them. So I mean, you got to take that into account. So that's why Seattle wants so much for Russell Wilson, is because they're not going to be able to. They're going to be financially strapped if they don't have him, worse than they are than if they do. So.
Yeah, and like you say, okay, here's one for you, Shannon. What do you think the most the Cowboys are looking to spend in free agency this year? I say no more than 8 on a player. What would you say? Maybe 9.
All right, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You get a guy like Ndamukong Suh that's available.
No, too old.
Too old?
It's not so much he's too. It's not so much he's too old.
He's too old. He is.
I think it's more towards his attitude.
He's inconsistent. He
is inconsistent.
And when he doesn't, he doesn't. But
I think I looked at Suh, and I think that if the Cowboys were to make the playoffs, that Suh would be 36 by the time you get to the playoffs, and I think that's too old for the type of player that he is. So I'm passing on Suh.
Yeah, probably free agency. I don't know the cap situation. I don't know how because they re-signed a couple of guys. They spread their money out. They not re-signed, but restructured their contract. So I really don't know. I don't know the details of what they have left to spend and how much wiggle room, but it seems like they can always figure it out. Like you could go sign a guy, you can figure out how to move the money around, right? They always find a way if they want a guy bad enough. So I would say probably, are you talking about like 8 a year?
In a year, yeah.
8 million, yeah.
I would probably say 8 to 10 is probably as much as I would spend. But I honestly, who's out there right now that you could get for 8 to 10 that's worth it?
No one's popping, really.
You know,
but would you take safety Keanu Neal
for that amount of money?
Not for that amount of money. No.
Depends on the price. You know, you need help at safety. You need help at corner. Yes. So if the price is right, bring him in. You know, and he's played for Dan Quinn before, and he was actually, he drafted by Dan Quinn, right?
I believe so. Yeah, he would have been
a second rounder, maybe, or something. Or
yeah.
So I mean, bring him in, but it's got to be the right price. Our
boy Brian's mentioned it could be roughly like if it's like 4 million, then go for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are talking about taking cornerback, and I know we're coming up to the amount of time that you got for us, so we'll start wrapping things up here. But one of the things I was looking at is a lot of people saying about taking corner at 10. I'm with you on the trade down, and even in a trade down, still leaving cornerback out in the first round because of the depth of corner. And I tell you, a guy who I'm absolutely loving is the Georgia cornerback, Eric Stokes. I don't know. Have you seen his measurables from his pro day?
No.
35 inch arms, but the wingspan is massive. It was like bigger than Zach Martin's.
Wow.
It was phenomenal. And the guy ran a 40. I'm trying to remember. It was 429? 428?
Wow.
It was rapid.
Jesus.
Yeah. I think he had a 10-yard split of like 1.5 on the nose.
Wow. 35-inch arms. That's like Paul's size. It's massive.
And the guy's already like, well, I think he's 6 foot. Let me go to my corners a minute. I think he's 6 foot tall. Eric Stokes, 6'1". So you think that's massive reach?
Yeah.
Massive, mate. Where's the moon?
Maybe not that big.
Yeah, it's over there. But yeah, I know you that this is about all the time that you've got for. So I'm gonna, before we wrap things up, I'm gonna pigeonhole you here, Shannon. You are the Dallas Cowboys with the 10th pick. The board's completely open. You could take anyone you want. Who are you taking?
Trevor Lawrence. I'm kidding.
Watch Paul's face. Watch Paul's face.
I'm kidding. Hey, I tell you what though, Paul.
Shannon, next time I see you, I am going to punch you right in the balls for that comment.
If you could get Trevor,
I'll look after you, Shannon.
10, would you not draft him at sign and trade?
No, I would not trade. I would not draft him.
Really?
Nope.
Wow.
How come?
I just don't like him.
You don't like him?
We have had this.
Any quarterback at 10?
If there was, it would have been Zach Jones.
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson. Sorry, Zach Wilson. It would have been him.
Okay. Now, I don't really know, to be honest with you. I think Stokes wouldn't be bad. I wouldn't hate that pick. I wouldn't hate the offensive lineman. And honestly, if they drafted the tight end, as much as I wouldn't want them to, I wouldn't hate that. Like, I don't want them to, but I think you can really anybody but quarterback and wide receiver. Like, I would not be mad. Like, I just think this is one of the few drafts where I'm like,
yeah, it's
what you guys want to do, I'm good with, because they need so many different pieces right now that I don't really, I'm not locked in onto one guy. And normally there's one or two guys that I'm like, okay, this guy or this guy. I'm really not locked into any one particular. I'm not married to anybody in this draft.
If it was me, Shannon, if I was given the choice based on most desperate need available, it would be Patrick Surtain, the cornerback.
I like him. I like him. Let me ask you guys this. We talked about this on the show. I know you're trying to run me off, but I got a question for you. If you could go spend, you had unlimited funds for a free agent right now, unlimited funds. What position? Let's just stick to defense. What position on defense would you go spend your money at right now?
Linebacker.
Okay. Safety. Lauren?
Probably end. A bookend on the other side from Tank. And
see, that's my point. Like, all three of you guys know football, right? You guys know the Cowboys in and out. All three of you had a different answer. And all three of those are the right answer. And it's like, I think you could go in draft is the same thing. You could go get anybody in this draft. I think it's going to come down to who do you have valued the highest on your board, who has the highest grade when they get to you, and you just go with it, right? And I don't think there's a wrong answer. Like I said, quarterback, maybe running back, just because you got two great running backs and you're kind of married to Zeke with the contract, you wouldn't really I think Tony Pollard's still got huge upside. You know, tight end, I think you're set with Jarwin and Schultz. But if you got a generational type guy that everybody's, what's the guy's name? What's the kid's name it's out of Florida, right?
Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. Like, I couldn't be mad at that if that's a guy you're going to have on your team for the next 15 years, because we know how this team values the tight end position. So I'm, offensive line, like, I think other than quarterback and receiver, like, go do what you need to do, man. Like, I'm good with it. So
okay, then let me answer you this. You gave us a question.
Okay.
You said not wide receiver, right? So Kyle Pitts is off your board, right? And he's gone.
Yeah.
And Patrick Surtain is gone.
Yeah.
But fallen to you is now Jalen Waddle.
I don't think I could do it.
No. Bearing in mind, the next team to pick behind us are the Giants, who are desperate for receiver.
Yeah, I know. I mean, where do you put him? That's the thing. Like, where does he get a ball? Like, if you do that, I think you got to think about getting rid of one of the guys you got. You're not going to get rid of CD because of the money. You got him cheap for the next 3 years. Yeah, Gallup. I mean, Amari. You don't get rid of to me, he's a top 5 receiver in the league. You know, and if he was more consistent, and if he was in games more, he would be a top 3, 2, 1 guy. So Gallup is the only guy left, and I love Michael Gallup. I still think he's got a huge upside. I don't think we've seen the best of Gallup. So where does he fit? Like, he wouldn't see the field enough for me to justify a pick at 10. If you were further back, if you were in the 20s, maybe, but at 10, like, he's not going to get on the field. Like, unless you trade Gallup. So,
because one of the questions we had from our very own Graham Wilson, he asked us to ask you, would you trade Michael Gallup at all?
You know what? I love the chemistry of this offense. Dak's got his guys. I think you got a good variety. You got a veteran guy in Amari. You got kind of a middle of the road guy with Gallup. You got a young guy in CD. I think you got a good mixture of what they can all do. Amari might be the best route runner in the league.
Definitely.
Gallup's got more dog in him than any of the other guys. I don't know. CD's got some dog in him too now.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt.
A little wiry guy. He'll throw himself out there. But CD's got, I like the mix that they have right now at wide receiver, and I wouldn't mess with it. Maybe after this year, give me a healthy Dak with the full year with all 3 of those guys, with a year of with this coach, a year with this offensive coordinator, a year in this system with them all working together. Give me that for a year and then show me that you're not going to put up 40 points a game, and then maybe I'll think about it. But I think if they don't put up 35 points a game this year, something's wrong. Like So,
and like you say, if it's so, you go down the road in terms of wide receiver core. If it's not broken, don't fix it.
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't mess with it. We like our guys. Like we like our guys. They can all catch the ball. They could all be number 1s or number 2s on other teams. Why risk getting a second round pick that you're probably at best going to be 50-50 on whether you hit on him or not. You know what you got with Gallup. Why would you trade that away? So.
Yeah, definitely.
That seems to be what the Cowboys are thinking, because they brought back Cedric Wilson, they've brought back Noah Brown. That's your top 5 receivers brought back. Whether that's Dak actually saying to Jerry, look, I want these guys back in. I don't want them getting anywhere else. You can get them relatively cheap now. Fair enough. Next year, you're maybe losing them again. But again, that's probably more compensation picks later on.
True.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like what Shannon was just saying there. It's all about the chemistry.
But exactly, and that's the biggest thing. Because that is uncoachable. Right. That it happens or not with that. Yeah. But I know you said you could deal with us for an hour, mate, and we've gone over that, and you've got other things going on today, Shannon. Busy man, especially this time of year, so we're going to let you go. Before you go, though, we do have this that we need you to see, and we'll get your opinion. On draft day, we have a 24-hour marathon show that we're doing for charity as well. It starts 7:30 in the morning here in the UK. Got various guests coming on. I know we spoke to you about it, Shannon. Are you going to be coming back for us on draft day?
I can probably figure something out. Honestly, it depends on what we're doing, whether what we're doing is virtual or live, and what my responsibilities will be on that day. But hopefully, if nothing else, I could jump on for 15 minutes or 30 minutes, at least, kind of let you know what's going on out here and the lay of the land. Some things I'm hearing and things like that. But I'd love to jump on, even if it's just for a short amount of time. Absolutely.
Perfect.
Anytime. It is always a pleasure with you, Shannon. 5 minutes of your beautiful face is all we need, mate.
That's so sweet. That's so sweet.
That's probably the nicest thing he's ever held.
You're looking smart, mate.
Or the old sport coat, so, feeling good.
Yeah.
Did it all for you guys.
Well, when it's for this show, mate, why not? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, you guys dressed up for me, bunch of slouches.
We're sporting the merch, mate, and the sponsor. We got it all going on. But I mean,
when are you going to send Cowboys UK gear? Yeah. I'll wear it on the show.
Say again, sorry, mate.
I said I need some Cowboys UK gear, a hat or a T-shirt or something. I'll wear it on the show.
We'll send you over a hat. We will send. So as you can see, Lund's sporting the hat and Paul's sporting the jacket. We'll get you a hat sent over.
Perfect. I would love that.
We'll get that over to you, mate. And we've got a couple of other things we got planned, actually. If you're going to be in the Star on draft day, I'm just saying there might be something going on from us.
Uh-oh.
Me and Jamie are working on something.
Uh-oh. Okay. Do I need to wear pants that day? Or
you can do if you want. It's up to you.
Okay. All right.
Well, you've even got me confused.
I'll tell you later, mate. Jamie came up with it, and I thought it was a brilliant idea. But yes, make sure as well, everybody watching, you go and watch or download "Hanging with the Boys." Listen to Shannon.
Best show on DallasCowboys.com.
100%.
Award-winning.
Award-winning. And it has the award-winning Nate Newton, who is always good for a laugh, and a good friend of ours as well, old Nate.
Yes.
The situation with a hat there as well. But we'll let you go, Shannon, and we'll finish off doing our paying the bills, so you can slope off and get your stuff done. But thank you very much for joining us, mate. We'll speak to you off air about the draft show and what have you, and get that organised. But thank you very much.
I'll give you a wee call later on, mate. All right.
Sounds good. Hey, fellas, thanks for having me on. Sorry it took so long. We got to do it more often, and hopefully I can jump on for draft for a little bit. We'll coordinate that. But always a good time. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, Shannon.
I'll speak to you later on, mate. I'll speak to you later, bro.
See ya.
See you later on. So, yes, that is his take. We'll just pay some bills, and then I'll go around the horn and speak to you guys.
I was just going to say before you do that, I was just like, be sure to follow Shannon on Twitter at Shannon_PG.
And to do that one. Yeah. PG, you can't miss him. It's a big screaming face. Or it was. I think he's changed it. But yes, as you heard, TV deals going on and stadiums opening up. So that obviously means if you're going to a Cowboys game this year, make sure you book it through Cowboys Experience. Details on the screen. They have game day tickets, tailgate parties, and stadium tours. And obviously, if you book it, make sure you use the booking code UK Cowboys. Because, Paul, what do you get?
You get free stuff. And if you don't book it for UK Cowboys, don't be a clown. Free stuff,
don't be a clown. Get some free stuff. Why not? Just for saying the word. And then you've seen it pop up as we spoke to Shannon earlier on draft day. It is the big show. It is a 24-hour show starting here in the UK at 7:30 in the morning, 2:30 Eastern time. So you guys over there in the States can work that out. It is round the clock. We have everything going on.
1:30 in the morning in Texas. 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
It's 6 hours behind.
Right. Clocks change. Yeah. Anyway, but yes, we've got giveaways, competitions, special guests, everybody from even NFL UK royalty joining us as well. So make sure to join us, and it's all for charity. All the information will be there when we're going live. But yeah, apart from that, guys, I'll get your opinions on quickly before we go. What you think is going to be ahead for free agency? Do you think there's going to be some more big moves, or do you think it's just going to be a quiet trickle?
I'll be perfectly honest. I think Shannon is nailed it in the head. I think it's just going to be relatively quiet. Like, it's going to be these signings that we've no really heard of before, type of thing. I mean, there's no really going to be any big star stud. If we can get Neil in, great, for the right price, obviously. But other than that, I think it's all going to be seeing what's going to be available at the draft and see what players are going to get dropped further on based on the draft. We might bring players in just before training camp and stuff. So that's what kind of happened as well. We brought in players just before training camp. So we'll see what happens.
There's still some big names getting released today. You know, Broncos parted ways with Philip Lindsay.
Yeah, that's right. That's a big one.
So there's no point in spending all your money up front. You know, wait a couple of days or so, which has been the Cowboys' way. You know, the guys like who is it? The Giants, where we were talking about Waddle there. You know, they're interviewing Golladay today, or they're hosting Golladay. You know,
that's going to burn their salary cap a little bit.
It will. It will. So I mean, again, there's probably a few things. We've got the scope. You know, Tank's money can be restructured straight away. So you know, we've got
same with Jalen as well.
Yep.
Like in a way, I'm actually like in the position where it comes to the cap. Like I could not be any bit more happy because we've got so much freeway where it comes to increasing our cap right now. And it's so Tank, Zeke, and Jalen can, and that's what Brian was just saying there. So man, we're in a really good position when it comes to financially. Like, it comes to bringing in players or something like that, and even further down the line, there's always going to be room. And like you said earlier on, Lauren, it's like that second year for Dak's contract, we can probably put that into those, break that down even lower, so to speak. But he's still getting all of his money still. So, I mean, we're in a great position here.
You've also got to think, with the draft picks we've got, you're probably looking at about 10 million that you need to keep aside for signing those draft picks.
Yes,
now,
agreed.
They're easy to sign because since the latest CBA, everything is stepped. So it's pretty much the same every year, inflation based, whatever. But the contracts are exactly the same for the first slot, right down to slot number 256, I think it is. You know, so you know what you're going to be spending on these guys. You know what you're going to be spending to bring in undrafted free agents. You need to keep that money aside. Fair enough, come September, you start releasing people. Have we got, you know, are we going to be out of COVID properly, that you're not going to have to worry about bringing people up from the practice roster again and things like that, where you're keeping money aside, you know? And again, carry over some cash next year, and you can get Gallup or whatever when everything's going up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is a bit of that you've always got to remember with the cap. There's always one eye on this year and one eye on next year, and that's the way the way it is and how it's designed and supposed to be. But yes, thank you everybody at home for joining us, giving us your comments, your likes, your shares, your messages. Everybody in the UK, the States, and because we get the analytics on the show, everyone else around the world is quite surprising.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, people. The support is amazing. We love it. Thank you very much for joining us. This has been
big shout out to Italy. That was the big standout. Italy,
yeah, Italy, big representation. Holland, and randomly Vietnam.
Wow,
I know. Every week we have.
man,
like
14, I keep saying it. We're not just America's
14,
team. We are the world's team. We are the world's team.
It's the world's team. But thank you very much, guys. We will be back next week. More details on that big marathon draft show with all the competitions and free giveaways that we're giving away for 24 hours on draft day. But from myself, from Paul, and Freshman Lawn, this has been UK Cowboys TV, episode 108, season 2. We'll see you all again next week, guys. Stay safe and stay phenomenal.
Take care, guys.